I'd like to welcome you to the February meeting of the zoning board of Canandaigua. We'll begin our meeting with a pledge of allegiance to the flag, and then we'll have a moment of silence for men and women in armed services.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Just to review our meeting procedures, including the Zoom people attending by Zoom. The applicants for variances will come up before the board. Give the step into the podium for them. Around someone.
Have a look.
Okay. We need a podium for the applicants. The applicant will then present to the board the reasons for the need of a variance. The board will ask questions of the applicant, and after that information's been exchanged, we can open it up for questions from the audience, including the Zoom audience. And then if everybody's satisfied that the information's been exchanged, we can close the public hearing. Following that, we do have 32 days to make a decision, but we'll typically, particularly with a shorter agenda, we should be able to make all the decisions tonight. And let's see. Oh, those who are on Zoom, Mike will unmute them if they have a need to present anything. So. Okay, on the agenda, we have continued public hearings. The one for Kepner Road has been, they have requested that they be carried over till our next meeting, so that's for that one. The next one is Brandon Stryker, owner of property at 3705 Timberline Drive. Applicants proposing installation of a pre-built shed 7 feet from the rear property line when 15 feet is required, so an 8-foot variance is being requested. Mr. Stryker is online. He's online. Okay, Mr. Stryker, can you hear us okay?
I can hear you just fine. Thank you very much.
Okay. You want to go ahead and just tell the board why you need the variance, and we can ask questions of you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did include PowerPoint information. I believe you were just looking at it. This is the northeast ridge of our property. If you look at the, what is it, the geocortex, I believe you just had up as well. Yep, perfect. So it's the northern ridge there on the property line. What you can't see is the very narrow strip right around where you have your mouse cursor. That's all very steep graded downhill. And I believe that lot of land was consolidated around 2018 or so, but before we moved in on the property, which did lead to kind of a mess figuring out the zoning and what actual subdivision we were in, but that's a long story. So we wanted to put the property in the side, northern side here. We didn't want it in front. I believe that's against regulations as well. So given the grading and given the property line here, we felt that this was the best position. I did do kind of a risk assessment of this. I am a quality engineer by trade, so I did a risk assessment on this. It will not impact the drainage or anything like that. We've never had standing water in that exact position. So environmentally, I don't see any impact. Neighbors above and below will not be impacted. There is a deed restriction on this lot for anything blocking the view of my neighbors to the southeast. It will not impact them either. So, I guess the reason I was requesting the variance, was because of that grading. If I didn't, I would have to pitch that up or either do some excavation work, which I feel would carry along more risk than just potentially asking the 8-foot variance request.
Go back to the other one, Mike, just meant as to the location of where this is going to be.
So originally, I was doing some research on this property, and on the permit application site, Cloud Permit, they already had a structure here, which neither I nor the authority I was talking to in the past could identify. So I thought that they had already requested a permit, the previous owners. That does not appear the case, so I don't know what that structure is. But originally I was planning on putting the shed here. But long story short, there was a mix up in the actual setback. So I decided to move it further east. As you're looking on this map to about where the marker is right there. So it's just further east. The actual distance to the line, the property line, will not change.
Reason for not taking it further from the property line is because of the grading.
That's correct. And it's hard to see, but back a little further beyond the play set, it is a little smoother there. So I thought that carried less risk than where originally we had planned on.
The question I have, between where this is proposed to be built and the neighbors, I haven't been out and done a site visit. Are there trees?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's hard to tell because this is in winter, everything's kind of bare. But that whole section, you can see that's a further grade going down, and that's all wooded.
So it wasn't for that, I would say that the shed is actually going to be closer to the neighbor's house, it would appear, than even your house. But that has to do, as you explained, with a lot that's not a standard lot.
Yeah, we were kind of pigeonholed between that wooded area and the hill.
Anyone else on the board have any questions? Even a bit later, do you want to?
I'm gonna let, is it okay? Yeah, we're,
Okay, well, we're,
Jason.
he's already
is he already?
filling in for.
Oh, okay, well, I
But
can if you need me. I did.
We probably don't. This is not a super majority.
It's not a majority of bill.
Did everyone read town planner Sarah Reynolds memo on this?
I did.
Indicating that there was confusion because of their subdivision plans, as well as deed restrictions had different subdivision setbacks. The applicant was told that he could place it within 2 feet of the property line, came in with 7. Permit was issued, shed was built. And then the development department later found out that wasn't valid. The property is subject to the setbacks for the R120 zoning district, which has a 15-foot side setback.
So is this a miscommunication
This
issue?
is miscommunication.
Okay,
Yeah, there was one permit application submitted, and then I did submit a variance request. Once we found out there were 2 feet, I request that it be not rejected but rescinded. And then later on, we came full circle and I submitted the other variance request. So this is roughly 5 or 6 months. I had to look through all my notes on this subject to refresh my memory. This was all back in August and September.
Yeah, and the town planner's memo to you says the applicant has complied with all that has been asked of him throughout the process. And that she is requesting that the ZBA members take the unique situation into consideration during their review and discussion. And it looks like it's a standard variance application. But I did want to call your attention to that.
This is the first I'm seeing this letter, so I just want to take a quick second and say thank you very much for writing this. It's very well thought out, and it captures the issue quite well. I didn't want to bring it up unless it was, asked, but this helps a lot, and I really appreciate it.
And I
Other
think that's,
questions?
by the way, the right way that the development office handled it,
Yeah,
caught the mistake, corrected it. Brought that to your attention. I think that's the exact way that should have.
Or maybe somebody else made a visit and I didn't, but let me make sure I understand. There are woods between the neighbor's closest house and the shed.
mhm. Sure.
That's
Brush
correct.
and some, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, do you have anything further you'd like to present to the board?
No, like I said, this is 5 or 6 months ago. I think this summarizes it quite well. I don't think I have anything additional to add unless there are questions. So I just want to thank you for your time and the group seems very reasonable and the letter here is again well put. So I do appreciate the time.
Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or concerns, or anybody online?
Zoom. I think we should just, for the record, Mike, if there's any shed, it sounds like it's been up for 6 months. Any complaints?
No, nothing.
So
Okay, if there are no further questions, we'll close the public hearing. We have 62 days in which to make a decision. We'll be certainly trying to make the decision tonight. You're welcome to stay on, Mr. Striker, if you'd like to, for our deliberations. We have several other applicants who will present, and then we'll be taking up those which have been closed later on. If otherwise, you could contact Mike tomorrow, and he could let you know what
Okay.
decisions were made.
Well, if you don't mind, I think I will stick around and just kind of see the overall process. This is new to me, so
Sure. No,
it's
you're welcome.
certainly interesting.
Yeah, you're welcome to.
Thank you. And good evening, everyone.
Okay, new public hearings, Joshua Raymore and Mark Bayer, landscape architecture. Representing Daniel Wegman, 4885 County Road 16, Canandaigua. Site plan approval for a tennis court grading and landscaping variance needed for third accessory structure. And also lot coverage, variance of 3.48%, where 25% is allowed and 28%, 0.48% is proposed. Yes.
Good evening, I'm Mark Bayer with Bayer Landscape Architecture. I'm here with Josh Raymore, who's with our firm, Aaron Costin, is with Wegmans, and Garth Winterborn is with Costitch Engineering. Thanks for hearing us tonight. We just a little bit on the project. This is obvious. The owners would like to build a tennis court at their home. The site is 3.33 acres, about 441 feet wide, so very large parcel. A little bit of background and history on the project. I don't know if any of you recall or looked at the records on the project. I was here back in, I believe initially we made application in January or December of 2019. And we brought the project before the zoning board and planning board early winter of 2020. It was approved, and then things fell out. COVID dropped literally like
Okay.
after our approvals, that winter of 2020, and the project got shelved. And the Wegmans would very much like to build the court, but we met with the planning office and zoning office, and they told us that unfortunately the approvals had lapsed, and we understand that, and so that's why we're back again tonight. And the project is literally the same project. They want to build the tennis court. The project really has, well, I should say, in order to build the tennis court, we're here because we need, as Chip had mentioned, we need a variance for lot coverage. It's a 25%. Is the zoning code. We're a little bit over that. We're at 28.48 on this property. And we did review, spent time with Mike in the planning department, zoning department. We reviewed the structures on the property, and Mike did a thorough, review. He suggested that because they have an existing garage, which is connected by a breezeway that's open, that garage that's attached to the house counts as an accessory structure. And the one that's up on the hill at the top of the site is a second garage. And so based on that interpretation, the tennis court is being considered
Right.
a third accessory structure.
Quick question, was the attached garage a part of the parcel before when you guys came in front of us?
I believe so.
Everything is the same?
Yes, because
Okay.
we did that piece as an earlier application.
Right.
Before.
Well, and I know we approved when Mr. Bell used to own it, we approved that garage up towards the road
Yes.
there for
Yeah,
the lean,
yeah.
okay.
So we're here for the two variances. And one of the things I just want to walk you through our design thinking. One of the things we've tried to do, originally, and the plan stands the same. We put the court in its position where it's shown because there's a little plateau there that's more level than everywhere else in the site. And it's behind that woodlot, which is below it on the lake side. And the tennis court, just imagine, sits 60 feet above the lake. So with the woodlot and the elevation change, you won't see the court from the lake. One of the other things is it's 141 feet from the edge of pavement on West Lake Road. And if you know the property, there's a big landform along the whole thing, and that's treed. And we've done a lot of planting up by the entry. So you won't see the parcel or the tennis court from the road either. And it sits 20 feet below the road,
The floor of the tennis court sits 20 feet.
20 feet below the road.
Is this the same as it was
Yes,
prior? Okay.
yes, exactly the same. And so that, and then one of the things we're doing as part of the design process in our plans, we're including extensive planting, and we're tucking and grading the court into the land and planting. All the dark green is going to be areas of planting surrounding the court. The lightest green is lawn, and the darker green curved forms around the court are all planting zones, which we're going to further screen the court. And we did some renderings. I don't know if you saw them, how it's going to look. But the other thing I want to bring to your attention about the design, because I think it's very important, especially when you consider lot coverage variance, is that we're doing with Costage Engineering assisting us. We've done sort of a three-pronged approach to drainage. We have 3 rain gardens. And we have actually, in addition to 3 rain gardens, we have underground storage. They're basically reservoirs to help store and slow the release of runoff. And then we have a dry well, which will pick up any of the trickle overflow from the chambers, the storage chambers as the water exit the site. So it's a three-pronged approach on drainage. So that's important because one of the considerations with any project when you have a site like this, or you're doing a project like this, is that to mitigate any lot coverage issue, one of the biggest concerns is stormwater management, and we're doing really extensive stormwater management. So
If I remember right, the last presentation you guys had it was literally, is it the same system they had before?
it's
Because,
a little different. We moved it.
Did you?
We had it under the court. We decided, talking with Costage in this round, we decided to move it just south of the court. Same idea,
okay,
but we were more comfortable not having it
so to the left,
to the left, page left,
okay,
just at the south end of the court.
okay,
We moved it over there, but it's the same exact concept, and the volumes are calc to or same storm events and all of that. So that's what we're doing to mitigate any stormwater. And then again, I mentioned previously, we're doing lots of landform and planting to really tuck this court in. So not visible from the lake, not visible from the road, managing stormwater and doing all those things. The other thing I want to just bring to your attention, I mentioned this to Mike a few weeks ago, that gray area where his cursor
yeah,
is all pea gravel. Now, the way the code reads, any gravel
Right.
is impervious. Pea gravel is not impervious. And we included it because that's what the rules say.
Right.
But if you take that out of the equation, it's 1,692 square feet. If you do the math, you come up with 1.16%. That's what that area would take off if we deleted it.
that would
So
reduce lot
it
coverage.
would
from-
reduce the area, but we put it in because we talked about it with the planning group and the zoning group, and
Right.
we left it in, and that's that. So we're presenting it as if it's part of the coverage. So just to kind of recap a little bit then, I think the other thing I wanted to mention in the design of this is that it is a large and substantial lot, 3.3 acres. It's consistent. There are a number of other examples of lots with tennis courts and accessory structures such as pools, and it's kind of consistent with a summer recreation place on a kind of an estate of this magnitude. I don't think it's out of character. So given our design approach and strategy, I would say without hesitation that there will be no undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or no detriment to the neighborhood or nearby properties. The benefits sought, we really don't have any other way to do this. It's a tennis court where we've got to put it on the site, and we've put it in a strategic location that makes good sense. The area variances in our assessment are not substantial. Again, for a lot of the reasons I've stated, we are at 28.46, but again, if you think about the pea gravel and so on, we're actually closer. And I will remind you that the site is 3.3 acres. So if you look at that, what that means is with the coverage we have, there's still 71.52% of 3.33 acres, which means there's still 2.3 acres of green. It's one of the greenest expanses along the lakefront, if you look at it from the lake, because of the 440 plus feet. And you've got, again, 2.38 acres of green within the site. So I think the other thing I would mention, again, I don't think there's any, the two variances will not have any adverse effect on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district for all the reasons I've stated, but I can state that also that we actually are going to improve the storm drainage function on the site with this project, with the chambers, with the rain gardens, which do not exist today, and the type of planting we're doing on previous projects, when we did the additions on the house, we've planted the site very heavily on the lower parts of the site. That package of and style of planting, we will continue up by the tennis court. You know, of course, you know, the owner is asking for the tennis court, and, you know, that's something they are requesting. But it is something that I think with the approach to the design, the strategies we're using, there, you know, it will have absolutely no impact on the neighboring houses. There's not going to be visible from the lake, road, it's not visible.
I think actually, so most of us have been on this board for a while. There's a couple of new members. I think it would be a benefit to you to talk about the drainage system, because that was actually a big point for us as board members before, so that you can
Sure.
bring them up to speed.
Sure, so absolutely. So the way the drainage system works, and if there's technical questions, Garth Minicorn is here from Costage, but if you bring up the grading plan, we can look at that, or I can explain it. Basically, the way the drainage is going to work is we will conduct the stormwater from both the driveway and the tennis court into a system of three different, keep going. One more. So there's three different, can I come up here? Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's three different rain gardens. There's a rain garden picking up the driveway drainage right here, and that'll be vegetated rain garden. There's a second level just down here where we're grabbing the rest of that. And then there's a larger rain garden below the court right here. And then Costage Engineering is designed large stormwater storage chambers right below grade in this zone right here. So what happens when the court pitches from east to west at 1%, and we're pitching over to this area here, we're picking the storm drainage off the court area in two inlets here. Those get piped right around with the storage chambers, and the storage chambers will store and release that slowly. And as they release it, it'll go to a tertiary system, which is the dry well, which will pick up the slowly released drainage from the chambers before it gets released to the lake. So it does a lot of things. It's the number one thing is in a rain event, stormwater is slowed down dramatically. Number two, it's cleansed in the rain gardens and through the chambers and the gravel around the chambers. And then again, released slowly and through the dry well, which is another sort of throttle so the rain event is behind you as it starts to release. So that's the whole practical aspect of it. And the court itself is entirely drained through that chamber system. And we've now, through the project, been able to pick up the driveway into this system. So the upper driveway, we actually have some similar drainage on the lower driveway, but the upper driveway is going to all get managed through this project.
And this isn't just for like, it's like not just 100-year event. It's like wasn't it beyond that or of some sort?
It's designed for a
1 to 10.
Pardon?
1 year, 2 year, 10 year.
Right. I remember they broke it down.
All of the events. And so, it is we don't do this level of system very often, for a residential site. It's rare. So it's extensive because we're paying a close attention to not only just good practice in terms of stormwater cleansing and management. We're very aware of Canandaigua Lake watershed design guidelines, and everything we've done in this project kind of is in adherence with that in terms of both the visual quality from the lake and placement of the tennis court out of sight of the lake, and then our stormwater practices. And we will have obviously a full we have a full SWIP plan, stormwater management plan, that will be very stringent and, so we've done, I think, a very good job on those fronts.
I don't know if I don't throw around engineering terms because I'm out of
No,
my element, but the term redundancy or whatever, if one of these systems fails to operate, the other two would be able to step up for, you know, if that was to happen. Am I sort of correct on that?
yeah. They're
all connected.
They're all
And if
interconnected.
one was for whatever reason not operational at a given moment, the other two could pick up the slack, or am I oversimplifying?
For instance,
Yeah, you want to step in? Perfect.
From Costage Engineering. Yeah, so the rain gardens, as Mark explained, are furthest to the west and they're picking up runoff from the driveway. So that's promoting, you know, it's the infiltration through the bioretention soils and the perforated pipe with storage and infiltration. And those are then connected partially to the system that's south of the tennis courts, and there's another third bio that's further south of the tennis courts, and those are large areas. There's 200 lineal feet of 24-inch diameter pipe, which is so it's well oversized for what you would normally see here, and that's to provide the storage volume, and the pipe is all surrounded in an open graded stone trench. Again, so that water's going in and infiltrating, and that whole system is controlled the discharge by a 4-inch diameter pipe for that whole area. And that then goes to the dry well, which is further down the slope. Again, open graded stone, perforated. The dry well's basically a manhole structure with a lot of holes poked into it, promote infiltration again. And the discharge out of that system is a 6-inch pipe. So what we did is we brought it to the edge of the woods and we teed it. So you got a 6-inch pipe out of that dry well, and you lay pipe flat. So you poke holes in that and you wrap that in stone and grade it. So that's another component.
Filtration.
So if any water that does make its way out for any reason, it's designed to mimic sheet flow from that point down to the water through the woods.
It's not a concentrated.
Right. Well, that's a steep slope area anyway, so that's why I was,
So
but I'm
that's why we
assuming
did
that,
level spreader type.
and I'm assuming that the property across the street probably is filtrated pretty good too, is for vegetation and everything, right?
Yeah,
For the-
yeah, it is. So I think, again, we've tried to go above and beyond with the design of the system.
So you guys might like to know that, because we got to hear it before.
Any,
Yeah.
any questions you have that I didn't cover well enough, or points that you need clarification on?
Do we have any neighbor letters? I was thinking particularly, I was out there today, the people most impacted would be the people going north. I
Well,
guess.
they're essentially doing the same design other than just,
Yeah, no,
we already know.
Yep, and we are maintaining the hedgerow that is there. That is a really good buffer.
And you're moving that filtration to the south anyways,
We're moving the
right? So-
filtration to the south.
Okay.
it does have a 7-foot heating or bounce back, whatever you call it, fence, I guess.
Yes, yes.
Did they do the pavilion?
No, they're,
That was our,
that was the one issue that.
yeah, we had
last
an
time.
issue with the
And the
pavilion.
board did not like the pavilion and, well, I don't know if you didn't like it, but.
It was too tall.
So, that was pulled and the Wegmans are fine with
Okay.
just doing the court without it.
How bright are the lights gonna be?
Well, right now, there is no proposed lighting, on the court if they, and that, you know, is. They're thinking right now, if they ever want to do it, obviously we'd have to come back and, you know,
Yeah.
it would meet any. Dark sky requirements and any code requirements. If they decide in the future they want to do it, we'll have to come back.
I think actually, Chris, I think we had that wrapped in with the pavilion. the lighting in the pavilion, if they were gonna lower it, I think that was all kind of like in the same
So
case, so.
do we know what exactly was granted,
We granted the tennis court,
the third accessory structure?
right, we granted
Well,
the tennis
no.
court with a drainage,
It
didn't we?
was what was back then, the interpretation was a little different, so we had two variances for that pavilion. Which one
Right.
was height and one was size, and then we had the lot coverage variance. And the way it worked out is that the lot coverage variance was granted. And the pavilion was not granted.
Right.
And so we decided, after conversation with the Wegmans, they were fine taking the pavilion out, so we just took it out and then went to planning board without it.
Okay. I know we had an in-length discussion about the
Yeah.
pavilion. We didn't love the height. The height was too much and it was exceeding so.
So was the lot coverage the same?
The lot coverage was slightly less on the former one, and that's because they, since that time, it was like a point and a half different, I believe.
Okay.
But it was just under 27 before. So, and the reason for that is they, put a tram, in with a walkway to the tram, and they put a hot tub behind the house. And they, in the intervening years, they did a couple of small changes. But it's very
Got it.
close. I mean, it's fractionally different, so. So,
Is the drainage the same, the drainage system the
drainage
same as was
concept.
previously approved?
It's different that they moved it to the
We,
south.
the major difference is, it's the same ideas, same basic system. We previously had the storage pipes under the court. We decided, after thinking long and hard about that, we didn't like that, and Garth convinced us to put them south of the courts.
So it's south, it's next to the court
Oh,
instead of,
yeah.
but not towards the neighboring
No,
property.
it's south of the court,
So the system and the capacity
same.
It's the
has been reviewed by our engineer at the previous.
It was reviewed
Approval,
previously,
right.
yes, and approved, and Garth. He did a full drainage study, again, just to verify. And, because I insisted on it, because I said, last thing I wanted is not enough drainage, so he did the complete drainage study again. And, used the same concepts and came up with the same basic system, but just, we've shifted it outside the court footprint.
And your fencing around it is
Same,
standard or same
it's the
as?
same as we had before, yep. Yep.
You know, I noticed it's not like the 20-foot tall fence they have at public parks. I guess if you're building your own tennis court, you're good enough not to worry about.
Or you think you are.
Actually, you can build a 20-foot one, you can jump off the top of the
Yeah.
hill. Still be in there. All right, I'm comfortable.
Is that what kind of path is that coming over from the driveway?
It'll likely be pavers or something similar. At the path that's linking the driveway to the court. I haven't discussed the details of it with the owner yet, but we're calling it for natural stone or paver kind of path.
For the record, is there a way you can reduce under 25%? The ECB had generally positive comments, but said you should bring it under 25%. Is there a way to do that? And what are the reasons you can't?
There really isn't a good way to do that. Again, I think to give them the functions they want. We got rid of the pavilion in the last round and took that area down, just a small sitting area by the court. And we've got our driveway about as narrow as we would want to have it. We even put green kind of strips in driveway.
Noticed that.
So I don't know of a good way. And again, I think, as I explained to the Environmental Conservation Board, the two factors I mentioned to you, one is that this number would actually be about 1.16% less if the code read a little differently in terms of the pea gravel. And the other thing I think you need to keep in mind is, again, because of the size of this lot, we're 25% on 3.3 acres. Zoning allows in RLD, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you can do a 20,000 square foot lot in RLD. Is that right, Chris?
Yes,
And that's,
well, you can do, but there are a lot of lots even less than that,
Yeah.
like 13,000 square.
Oh,
feet.
yeah.
yeah, so if you, and those are allowed 30% coverage. So all I'm saying is that on this site, because it's large, it is 25%, we have the great news is there's 2.3 acres of that site, or, which is, the 71.52% green. So it is, when you think of it in those terms, it is actually a green scenario compared to what could be here. And wanted to let you know there actually was another home on this site.
I know.
That was.
We were the ones on the zoning.
So that's gone. So there was a
Yeah.
whole different realm, whenever that was, 10 or 12
It
years
was a
ago.
lot, it was a while ago.
Yeah, so I think, the owner's been great to work with, and they have, emphasized, how important it is to them to have this look good, function well, drain well, and plant it really nicely. And that's what we've done on all the projects, and I think we're doing the same thing here.
Anyone have any other questions? You presented everything you wish to.
I think so. The only thing I would say, I think Chris already brought it up, but we did go to PRC and got feedback there. We did go to environmental conservation. I presented the project to them. I think generally it was favorably received. And the ag board said that there was nothing that was pertinent from their perspective.
So they're not gonna do any lighting until they figure out what their next step
Right
is.
now, they said they're not planning to do lighting. They said if they ever want to do it, then Mark, you're going back and talk to the town.
It's not like you haven't convinced the boards for Wegman Properties to do lit tennis courts in the past.
And we have,
Um,
well, or whatever.
But I was gonna suggest, first of all, that you do
Yeah.
a no lighting condition.
Right.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to come back anyway, so if they were going to. But Mark said it was favorably received by the ECB. Their comments actually are: the ECB recognizes and appreciates the addition of rain gardens and stormwater catchments, as well as native species used in landscape. The ECB also recognizes the effort to locate the tennis court to minimize any sightlines on the property in a scenic viewshed overlay. Recommends the rain gardens be maintained. I think, given the nature of the property, whoever owns it will do that. Recommends the reduction of impervious cover to keep lot coverage at 25%, and that any lighting that may be added in the future be dark sky compliant. I think that is very positive.
And that was a condition of the last approval, that if they decide to do lighting, it would be dark sky. Right. In the future.
I think there was lighting in the last application, if I'm not
It
mistaken.
was the same sort of thing. They,
Yeah.
they weren't 100% sure,
Right.
I think, and you conditioned it that if it ever, we'd have to come back, and if it ever did come to pass, that it would be dark sky.
Okay.
This is Ontario County Planning Board recommended denial for its standard reason, so it will require super majority.
All right.
For the record, by the way,
Yep, we got him.
could you designate Jason as sitting in this?
I said that before.
Oh, you
but,
did.
Yeah, we can officially get that on the minutes, I guess.
And I did, just for the record, I did speak to Linda Phillips, County Planning, and explained the project to her and told her all the things we were doing, and she She was appreciative of that, and she asked me about, rain gardens and all the drainage, and I walked her all through that. But she said the problem is they have their standard procedures
Right.
on variances on the lake, so.
Oh, we're very sensitive to those
Yeah,
things, so.
so,
And we do get the P stone.
Right.
We get it. But yeah,
yeah, it's
we understand.
an interpretation.
That does
Right.
raise the point, the county planning board had a comment as well saying, you should involve the watershed inspector. And somebody did, and you have comment from Tyler at the watershed, referencing the force main and pump station need to be moved. It's not
Yeah.
a zoning board
No,
issue.
Okay,
we've addressed that, so.
But so you
In
did,
in our plans, yeah.
the town has followed that
They have,
suggestion.
okay, good. All right.
Well, thank you.
Anyone in the audience have any comment? The audience is commenting. Anybody at home have any comments?
There.
No further
Does anybody
comments? Are
even
you
online?
satisfied with?
One person.
Just as long as everybody's clear and understands the project well, I think I don't want to take any more of your time than I need to.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing.
Quick question.
Sure.
I'm not sure if it was in the site plans, but what's the surface of the court?
It'll be an asphalt base, but then it'll have specialized, like coatings, or there's an artificial kind of grass material that might be a possibility too.
But asphalt.
It's a hard floor with a special surface.
Right,
Just
and that's
just
slightly,
curious.
doesn't it allow for some of it to seep through, right? Isn't that what
It's not a pervious asphalt, but it's slow, depending on the coating, it slows it down, but it's
does,
only,
right?
it's only pitched at 1% on the cross pitch, so it's not.
So
a
it won't
real-
run,
It's not a fast run,
yeah, okay.
so.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Yes, we'll close the public hearing. We
Thank
have
you.
62 days to make a decision, but we will certainly try to get to it tonight.
Just thought.
Welcome to
we
talking
had
about
a grass court, we should
deliberation.
probably mention that.
Yeah, big time.
We'd come up.
Okay.
I
Next
remember,
public
so I remember
hearing.
when that was Mr. Bell.
Mr. Lupton still here?
Yes.
Okay. The next public hearing is from Alan Lupton, for 496 Island View Drive, Canandaigua. Site approval for construction of a in-ground pool with patio area. Variance is requested for 8.2% lot coverage. It's 38.2% is proposed and 30% is maximum required. Mr. Lupton, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you great.
Okay. You go ahead and present what you're requesting here and reasons why. And may have some questions for you.
Okay, that'd be great. So I included a quick PowerPoint just in case folks didn't get down to the site so they could get a sense of some visuals both from the lake as well as, from the site. But essentially the number one reason why we're looking at this is, the water condition where we're located is really challenging and it's getting worse. It's a very muddy bottom there, and a lot of it is just runoff from Sucker Brook. It's just a very, very soft bottom. By mid-July, it pretty much fills with weeds. And so it just becomes very undesirable from a swimming standpoint. And, so ourselves and others have looked at this for a long time and said, gee, what can we do to sort of remedy this? There's really not anything, on the lakeside that you can easily do to try to remedy the situation, especially if you get winds out of the south, we're just going to accumulate all that stuff up there in the corner. And it's very shallow when you're there as well. If you want to just stop on that slide, I'll just comment real quick. That is, I know that there's a lot of concern about lot coverage and, dealing with water issues and things like that. This is a typical picture of the drainage issues that we have coming onto our property. We're not contributing to drainage issues. There is an enormous volume of water coming off Westlake Road down the hill, through the field. And, you know, it basically all exits at the corner of our property. So again, part of what we're trying to do is sort of deal with some of those issues internally. When we go back to the map, I'll at least show folks what the water flow is so they can understand that situation. But continuing on, just a couple more slides, and then we'll go to the other. You know, that's, again, this is the water flow coming across Westlake Road during a moderate rain event. So again, you know, I understand the concern about lot coverage, but the issue is not originating on our properties. And so I think that's it. So if we go to the map, I want to kind of orient folks a little bit to some of the issues. This is a good place to look. So as you see the driveway, you can't see my cursor, right? So the driveway is in the left corner of the parcel coming in, and there's a barn that sits in the city side of the lot. So water flows through a drainage ditch that runs along that side on the left, and then it goes around back behind the barn, goes out into that 17-acre woodland, and then it comes back into the property down by the dock. That situation was created by the city of Canandaigua. You know, they basically dug a drainage ditch and they stopped it, you know, just over into the park. And so the park all floods, and then the water finds its way back over to our property. So again, just a combination of issues makes it really muddy and undesirable, you know, down at the lakefront. So what we've tried to do is come up with a safe location and a safe situation where we could have a pool that's, you know, not highly visible, that sort of blends in with the landscape, that's using, you know, the most appropriate area on our site. And just to point out, because I think I read the ECB report, and I think there's some confusion, this dotted line that goes around the house, we tried to show that as the roof overhang so people could understand. There's a 3.5-foot roof overhang that goes over the top and extends out from the cottage. So some of these sidewalks are actually underneath that overhang. And then that where the hot tub sits today, that's actually existing. So the area that's being added is really the rectangular area that surrounds the pool where the fence would be immediately located. And then, you know, one thing about impervious, which I'm not sure how the ZBA would evaluate, but obviously we're tying the swimming pool into the sewer system for when it back flushes. So rainwater that goes into the pool is not escaping into the lake. So there's 420 square feet that's in this calculation that really isn't part of that impervious surface that's getting out into the lake, so to speak. I'm just looking through my papers here to see if I have any others. So there was a picture I thought in there that shows a view from the lake, but again, we've got some very large, mature, I think they're hickory and oak trees that sort of buffer the lakefront. So this area is very much shaded and is not, you know, very well observed from the lake, as well as the fact that we're inside the navigational buoys. So it's a non-navigable area. So you're really, you know, a half a mile away trying to view this area, or you're coming up to the area in kayaks. So I don't know if I've sort of done a good job as an introduction here.
Just, Chris, there's, with the property line going through, or the municipal line going through, we decided that does not have any play here.
Correct. From a setback standard. Wait. We're doing a side setback to this, to where?
Lot coverage setback.
Just lot coverage.
Just lot coverage.
There is no side setback.
Sorry, I talked to town staff about that and said, technically that side lot line isn't ours, so we can't. Justify that. I believe we're including the entire lot, even the portion within the city, as the numerator or the denominator. Which I think is appropriate because the issue requiring lot coverage. Regulation is for the whole lot and really isn't affected by artificial boundaries. I'm not concerned with the lot line. With the municipal border there. I think that's relatively irrelevant to your,
Just wanted to bring that up because that had been a question.
no, that's good, it's a good question.
And maybe just to that point, so we actually own the right of way to the north of that property line. So we own the home up on Westlake Road, which is 861 Westlake Drive, 3271 County Road 16. It has the same municipal boundary line that goes through it. So we are actually the neighbor to this property line. And so that's why my wife wrote a letter of support because we own the other property. But I do believe we meet the setback if you were to look to that property line, even though it's in the city of Canandaigua, I do believe we meet the setback requirement from it.
Oh, okay. That's good.
And so we've tried to make the concrete area as small as possible, which again is this rectangular area around it. This stone wall that's in front is just a large boulder retaining wall. So we're just extending the retaining wall down the length of it to, again, keep the pool at the same level as the rest of that surface. So again, other than the pool fence, I really don't think folks would know that there's a pool even there from the lake. We're probably at this level, we're probably a good 4.5 feet, you know, in the summertime above where someone's going to be in the water looking up towards the parcel.
Are there any other walkways that could be eliminated to try and get back down?
Yeah, so I saw that in the comments of the ECB. Again, I didn't realize that that was a public meeting. I should have attended, but I think these dotted lines around the building are a little bit confusing that folks are thinking those are walkways. I mean, there's a patio over on the other side of the property. Where this hot tub is already existing. You know, these other walkways are to get safe egress into the house from the driveway. There is a slight pitch there. Again, it's a level property, so you know, we did try to make doors and things like that handicap accessible. So I'm just not sure where you're going to, short of, you know, having no area around the pool, which would mean there's no place to sit. I think it would be a very odd you know, setup to have a swimming pool with no place to sit. I'm not really sure where else you would reduce, and again, you know, continue to have this be a safe environment. And I think folks read in the packet, but you can see the dashed outline that shows, you know, the original thought was we don't have these same requirements in the city of Canandaigua, and that, you know, we could place the pool within the city of Canandaigua portion of the parcel. We really don't want to do that because it's not, I mean, it's a very unique situation. That's not a safe location. We'd have to disturb a lot of, you know, material in order to do that. We'd have to build retaining walls. It's just not ideal. And the view lines from the house, as far as having your kids and stuff in the pool, you can't see over to there. You know, it's bedrooms that are facing the pool area and stuff like that. So it just is not an ideal situation. And if you go to the overview map of, I think you had that up for some of the others, where you've got the Encore, yeah. You can see, I mean, we're surrounded by 17 acres of Forever Wild property. All the other properties on our street are all rentals. I saw someone made a comment in there about rentals. Every other property on our street is a rental. And so again, this is all the ways over on the other side of the property where this is located. It's not going to be, you know, visible or impactful to, you know, our neighbors. And again, we've got this enormous, area of Forever Wild that we're adjacent to. So we're at the end of a dead end. We're at the dead end of a private drive.
That area to the west and northwest is all, is that Forever Wild?
It is. So it used to be owned by the state of New York, and now it's owned by the city of Canandaigua. So it's Atwater Park.
Anybody on the committee have any questions? Anybody in the audience have any questions? Yes.
Mark Saditsky, I live on Island View Drive. Correct, Alan, my wife and I are probably the last ones that own and live on Island View Drive full time. And yes, all the rest of the houses seem to be rented at the moment. The one right above us, just to the west of us, I think people will be moving in eventually full time. They live there all summer. My big question is with this pool and where it's being put, is there any concern on the depth and it being right on the lake as far as the water table and hitting the water table since it's that close to the lake?
Like the high mean watermark or something like that. Are you
Well,
talking about like in a
watermark for
flooding
one, I read
event?
that in in one of the things.
Like a flooding event,
Yeah.
correct? Is
But
that?
I'm not talking also depth.
Right.
Wise, especially with the way the water comes down through Atwater Meadows. We have the same problem. We live on halfway down the slope to the lake, and I have 2 French drains, and with these big water events that we've had, the last one about 3 weeks ago, it's my water, it just goes right past my French drains. And with a little bit that it does catch, that goes under the driveway, I have 2 big holding areas, one of which has already started to collapse. It was put in 27 years ago when we built the house.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I think my concern about the amount of water that's coming down and whether when they start digging, are they gonna hit a water table?
Right. So you're referring to like the depth of the pool?
Yeah.
I don't know if we've ever had that question. Because I don't know if there's ever been a concern for the depth of the pool for.
I don't recall that ever being.
No. Chris, what do you think? Put you on the spot. I don't know if I've ever been asked the depth of the pool before. So true.
Yeah, so-
Length and size.
There's code requirements.
I would assume you can't.
I don't
have
think you can have
like
a 30-foot pool.
No, and it's I think it's 5.5 feet at the deep end and 3 feet at the shallow end. It's not intended for diving or those types of things. And so we are above, the mean high watermark. I mean, we would be higher than you would have a basement for that, from that perspective. So we wouldn't even be as deep as a basement.
Did that address your questions? Is that?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Mr. Lupton, are you satisfied with your presentation and okay for us to close the public hearing?
I am if you are. Sure.
Board is okay with that? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. We have 62 days in which to make a decision. We'll be making every effort to make it tonight. You're welcome to stay on while we deliberate. No further information can be exchanged other than the board discussion among themselves.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Since we have, we'll go on, we'll get the review these before we do our board business.
Okay.
People who are waiting don't be too long, so. Okay, Timberline Drive. Mr. Stryker,
Oh, so we've closed the public hearing.
close it up there.
Okay.
Anybody have any comments about the shed on Timberline?
Thank you.
No, I knew it was an existing shed, but thanks for putting out the letter. I had kind of lost over it.
I came in halfway through, but I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think this was a continuation of last, can we discuss this
Yeah,
last month?
yeah,
Okay,
we hadn't been able to
So-
attend for a couple times.
right, okay. So I know the gist of it, definitely.
I think one of the things that hit me, if people are interested in the view from their house or the closeness, that one neighbor and what it is, the tree barrier right now is good. This variance is forever. So if the
Right.
trees die or whatever, then whoever lives in that house is going to be looking at a shed that's closer to them than any
The
other.
trees actually are on that neighbor's property.
Okay,
But wasn't this a miscommunication issue?
well, yeah, there was.
Okay.
I understand that.
Kind of almost have a little sympathy for.
Oh, yeah,
because of
I
that.
do.
mean,
I'm just saying, I always know that it's for the land forever when we give a variance, and I just don't know if we need to bake that into the conditions or whatever. Probably can't do a thing if it's the neighbor's property where the trees
Yeah.
are.
I mean, they'd be the ones who have to replant the tree.
Yeah.
Right,
I don't like what it's about.
The other thing is that one of our conditions is it's substantial. It's not that big a structure.
No, that's true. And it's, he
was
did
it
demonstrate
self-created?
that there were not a lot of options with the shape of that lot.
No,
And topography.
Yeah.
Call the question.
The applicant is proposing the installation of a pre-built 8 foot by 12 foot shed, 7 feet from the rear property line. 15 feet is required, so an 8 foot variance is being requested. Shall the 8 foot variance be granted? Shannon Chevier,
Yes,
Bob Hilliard.
Yes,
Kelly LaVoy,
yes,
Chip Saylor,
Yes.
Jason Outhouse.
Yes.
Okay, as presented, on the materials and the maps that we got today. So that would condition that, and one condition will be as, well, it's already there, so they've already beaten the other
Yeah.
conditions. for you.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it's an unusually shaped, really unusually shaped property, with slope issues. I think that really does limit, where it can be placed. We have no complaints from neighbors.
that's a pretty compact neighborhood too, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it changes the
No.
appearance of the neighborhood at all, because there are a number
Lot
of
of houses
sheds which
next
are
to each
pretty close to lot lines, which probably never got variances, frankly. But it's a small building. Anything else, anybody know?
Well, and I mean, it wasn't self-created in the sense that there was miscommunication, and I mean,
Right,
can't,
we could add in there.
Yeah.
This communication that prolonged the process of the.
right, I mean, we can't tear it down when we're the ones that were.
No, you absolutely can.
Well, we
Yeah.
can,
You can.
but we were at fault too, right? So aren't we adding to
Well,
the,
No,
More confusion.
it's something to take into consideration, more in mitigation of the property owner or in defense of the property owner. Look, he didn't do this
right,
to try
but
and
to
get,
make them
to
tear
try
it down
and
would
trick the
be,
town.
Right.
We're allowed to,
we are allowed to,
absolutely.
but don't we cause them a financial hardship though?
Ignorance of the law is no excuse is
Wow.
essentially where that is, you know,
But
there
does
are
that go-
situations that that there's a lot of court cases about stuff like this where people get permits issued
Mhm.
for the wrong thing, build it.
But can you
And-
take that into consideration in the findings of fact that there was miscommunication? I guess that's what my,
Really? I mean,
No?
in the, yes, it's a valid finding of fact. And I think it does go to, are there any alternatives?
Mhm.
I think it goes to some extent, a small extent, to character of the neighborhood and change in the environment because it's there. You guys all drove by it, did it stand out like a sore
No.
thumb, did it? you know,
Yeah.
could he move it? Yeah, but that's different than.
We don't wanna add that in as a note, though, so what I'm.
No, you could definitely add it in as a note,
Okay,
but I
I
want
mean,
to
I
be
get where you're
clear
going.
that this would, you probably would have granted this variance anyway.
Got it.
And we're not granting a variance to correct. You know,
Okay,
correct this, it's that he's entitled to the variance, we can take that in.
So we're saying that the condition is not self-created, for sure. Right, because
Well,
given permission to move and then doing that and then finding out that you're out of compliance when you do that, doesn't that mean it's somebody else's fault or whatever, so you're not,
It's a gray area, right?
it's not
It's a
self-created.
gray area.
Yeah.
Gray area?
how about we
Let's
just say
try
that
to-
the
let's try to think about
topography
it.
was the
Right, let's listen to.
non-self-created issue.
Strike
Stick
that
with-
last.
I
remark.
opened up Pandora's
Strike that
box.
last remark.
All right, take back everything I said.
All right. Got all that. It's on.
I'm gonna start charging more by the hour, I
Right.
think. Especially for this
Okay.
board.
Next one is going on to 4885, County Road 16. Tennis court.
I think when you put that much blacktop in or, you know, surface with that, initially you are nervous because you're close to the lake. And the numbers didn't bother me that, you know, at all in terms of that, but it was the health of the lake. And if the applicant had come in with just a satisfactory drainage thing, I think I would be conflicted. But I was very impressed with the presentation, as I understood it, of, you know, what they are attempting to do with mitigation and the you know, the storm drain situation. So I was very impressed with that presentation.
And to give you guys an idea, because you guys weren't, that property was owned by somebody else at one time. There's actually 3 houses on it. And they tore down one to move the driveway over and then built that little, so we granted a variance for both of those issues, the things before. And then Danny came in and bought the property. So wanting a tennis court, and then he wanted the big pavilion. We didn't like the pavilion because it was too tall. But the tennis court and the drainage issues, we thought was not, you know, I mean, it is in character with neighborhood. There is tennis court almost, you know, down that way and all this, but state of the art drainage system was
Yeah,
one of our, I want to say that was probably our biggest compelling reason last time, so.
I think it's interesting that 1% grade away from those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
so it goes into.
Which makes sense kind of, because I mean, it's not just pure runoff, it's more of a. So what do you guys
Yeah,
think?
and looking at some of those numbers in the stormwater management are really impressive.
Yeah.
How much it's improved.
You guys have any
And I
concerns
think
or?
certainly
Well,
not visible from the lake. It's up 60 feet up and.
Right.
You can-
Well, and it's a.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it like, as it gradually goes down, it's like, it's all covered around this.
I have a weird question, a procedural question. This is for a third accessory structure. Can you count, can you zoom out of that and just count the structures for me?
There you go.
garage here,
Yeah, I'm with you there.
okay? This garage here, which is connected to the house, but it's an open breezeway. If it was closed breezeway, it would be an addition. Since it's an open breezeway, that's a second accessory structure. But this would be a third accessory structure in the RLD.
What about
About down
the down that?
That's a house, isn't it? Or no. Yeah, that's
That's a beach house.
beach. Isn't that a full house though? Isn't that downstairs? Or I forget what, there was like a whole full house on it, or 3 originally.
I just don't remember why that isn't,
That it's just
why
another
that's
structure?
there.
You know what?
Karen, do you remember how we allowed that?
This
It's
is
possible it's
about-
pre-existing non-conforming.
It's a pre-existing non-conforming.
Is it old?
Well, it's been there since the Bell times.
There were 3 houses on that
Oh.
property originally, and then
This is
they,
the Bell property,
yeah, right, so
Um,
there, one was torn down to move the driveway over, right, you got it.
yeah, this has just always been there.
Yeah, it had,
Um,
right,
And so it's not an accessory structure, it's a,
separate
it's
lot.
an
isn't it?
illegal house, second house.
Yeah,
But because it's pre-existing non-conforming, it's not you.
but they were 2 lots at one time too.
Yeah.
And we
But,
moved.
but they're
them
not now,
outward.
so,
They're not
but
now.
my question really is, should we grant the 4 structures or just 3?
No, it's up to the zoning, well, actually, so. We would have to re-advertise to do
Oh,
that,
that's right.
and I don't think that is a count, that doesn't count as an accessory structure, that's an entire house.
Right,
Okay, all right.
It wouldn't meet the definition of an accessory structure.
they claim it's a beach house now, but it wasn't, before it was like literally like a 2-story house, I don't believe it's.
No, I get the history, I just am
Right.
trying to,
Figure it out.
No, it's a
right?
good question.
No, it was, absolutely.
Shannon, it's just not an accessory structure.
So, and the breezeway, if I'm correct, was not there prior to
Yeah, I
this?
don't think so.
That was that's a new,
Yeah,
that's
as
an
is the new,
alteration
new
from
garage
last.
there.
It's a new garage,
Okay.
but, the breezeway was built with the garage.
yeah,
And years ago. We had people were making detached garages
Right.
not an accessory structure. By doing open breezeways to their detached garage.
but this was done within the last couple of years, I would say.
Well, but they were doing it to get around.
no,
the
I get
number-
that one,
No, I'm just.
yeah.
So we're just having a,
Yeah,
yeah.
so the town code changed saying. By the way, attached means connected by common walls,
So
not
now it's not,
an open
okay.
breezeway.
No, I get that one, I get that one, I just, why isn't that one?
Well, I was just asking about the breezeway.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Yeah. Ready to call the question?
Okay. Variances are needed for a 3rd accessory structure and a lot coverage variance of 3.48% for 25% is allowed. And 28.48% is proposed. Shall the variance for a 3rd accessory structure and lot coverage be granted? Shannon Chevy,
Yes,
Bob Hilliard.
Yes,
Kelly LaVoy,
Yes,
Chip Saley,
Yes.
Jason Alves.
Yes. Okay, as presented, tonight, will be, site plan.
no lighting,
Pardon me?
no lighting.
And,
within
has to
1
be
year, yeah.
completed within 1 year.
And can I suggest 1 year? No changes allowed.
Right.
Subject to planning board review and approval and no lighting would be good condition.
Okay.
And what about this was literally essentially the same variance that was granted prior.
So I got a whole list, would you like me to read them off of proposed findings for you?
I don't care if you want to.
Prior similar variances were granted. Reference to support from the ECB in their comments. There is no lighting proposed. Drainage will be improved on site. The site has 440 linear feet of lake frontage. This is the only location available for this on the site. The size of the lot is 3.1 acres. There's ample landscape screening surrounding the proposed accessory structure. The proposed accessory structure will be built 20 feet below West Lake Road and 60 feet above the lake. And that pea gravel accounts for approximately 1.5% of the lot coverage near the garage.
I guess, I just, because it is above the lake and because it basically is flat ground structure, it really is not visible from the lake.
Right,
That's the one.
And the trees in front of it.
and they
I
are
didn't wanna make
planting.
that- Draw that conclusion. It's
Yeah.
easy.
Okay. So, have all those? Okay. 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 I'll set them. Thank you. Going on, Alan Lupton, 4961 Island View Drive, Canada. Brown pool. Need a lot variance.
Is there code on what the depth of anything can be?
I have no idea. We've never had that
Shannon,
conversation.
wanna know what's weird? I think
I'd
this
love to know
question has
what's
come
there.
up like 5 years ago.
Did it? I don't remember being
well,
this
I can-
deep, just
I
big.
don't remember square footage,
Square
Because
footage
it's a
was big.
valid- It is a valid question. I mean, if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
to dig something 20 feet down,
And I was
it's gonna
like,
be
I
a
never
perfect
thought about
diameter.
it.
and if-
You're gonna hit problems.
And
So who
for-
the heck would want to have? a
For
20?
example, if those houses didn't have basements,
Right,
then you'd say, whoa, maybe the swimming pool's not a good idea.
right, right.
Here, I would
right.
assume that
I have a very good friend whose son is now a medalist in the Olympics, who's just doing the diving thing. So
And
yeah,
all the diving thing,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, well,
They
we've
built
come
little
across
pools
the
with-
size of the pools. We've never had a depth question.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. I don't recall a depth question. That's. Usually I'm pretty good with those things.
No, it was a good question. I just was like, huh, I wonder if we even,
Yeah, I never, I mean,
Anybody
said
thought
the
of it
depth,
before?
I was like, huh.
I'm sure there's a rule, but I'm sure it's not overly
By
restrictive.
the way, pardon me for my attire. I didn't get back in time to change. I was out of town.
We don't have a dress code.
Was it?
We don't have a dress code. Don't
No,
worry about it.
geez, what have I been doing all these years?
Well, in any case, I think, he's already answered, but it's not,
it's not terribly
Not a
deep,
huge
which is
diving
fine.
3.5 foot and 8, what was it, 5.5
Five.
and 3?
5.5 to 3.5. It's a little
Yeah.
wading pool for the kids. and
Yeah, that's not a
it's-
big, that's not a
I
big
think
pool.
5.5. Other-
5.5 is not very deep.
No,
You
it's
can't,
not.
you can't dive in there.
No, no, no.
water table's a big deal some places and they get sinkholes
Yeah,
down in Florida. Having to
Absolutely.
do with the
That's
water
true.
table, that's a nightmare.
anyway, so yes, it was pretty wet down there.
Yeah.
So what do, I mean, I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
so. What he didn't answer well is if you've got that water flowing off, will it flow into and then above and the pool and continue on
But the
down?
pool is south. It's gonna be south of where the main water.
And it was
flow
gonna
is.
be above a basement. It'd be literally the higher than a basement, he said, so it won't. There
Okay,
won't be water
because
in
it's
it,
gonna
it'll be
be
above.
behind that retaining. wall.
Yeah,
Alright,
it'll be above that level.
It sounded like it'd still be the same water flow.
Yeah, I don't
down
think
through
there's
the-
anything
through the
different.
Woods and that right away.
With
But
water
that,
flow.
that neighborhood
It's
is really challenged with that water. And if a realtor is showing a house, it better be on a day when it's pretty dry.
So how can a city actually divert water with no outlet and pull it back in? I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand how that could work.
I don't understand.
It's called a Band-Aid.
No,
That's probably it.
Okay,
This is interesting because the pool, rarely do we see pools connected to the sewer system.
Right,
Yeah.
and I think that's an important,
Because they're
Point.
far enough south that they don't have sewer system.
yeah, that's good.
You know, that's for 4 months of the year when it's open. I don't know, assuming. I don't know how porous an
Yeah.
in-ground pool cover is.
He mentioned that almost as an aside, but that's a big deal.
Yeah, I didn't even-
If they don't have that, I think, this could be a non-starter. And, I don't know how we're gonna vote, but at
He
least.
said he is connected.
He is
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. If he hadn't said
Oh,
that,
yeah,
right,
that's an important thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's
To
very
me.
important.
yeah,
Well, and he's in that area that's all completely wooded and, I mean, I don't know who he'd be. If it would even be affecting anybody on that south side, because the runoff is the whole entire property anyway,
yeah, but
right?
we're pretty close to the lake though.
Well, that part, yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, if it's above ground though, I mean, like, yeah, overflow, but.
Well, it's not an above ground pool.
No,
No, I meant it's above, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
above
Great.
Elevation.
grade, there you go, thank you.
Okay.
It was
Mike, still has to go through site plan review. So it would get shoreline guideline treatment.
okay,
I mean, it looks like it's got stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing before us is technically lot coverage.
I can't imagine it can be any more contaminant than what's probably flowing in there now. right? Stuff coming up,
It's a tough area.
right? Maybe a
And
little
then the other
chlorine would be
question we're
good.
gonna have in the future, we want endorsements or criticisms from neighbors. If everybody's a rental, or just about, that becomes
Yeah, you're not gonna
more
get any
tricky too.
criticism, because they don't give a,
And that's how the times have changed. When I first got on the board, we never had that concern. You know, we always had neighbors who were true neighbors, right? You know,
Well, I like the
I know a
neighbors
person
showing up.
living down
Yeah,
there.
that was great.
They
Yeah,
have
I
an
agree.
issue.
Yeah,
And
Yeah, he was
he asked
good.
his question and he seemed to be satisfied.
Yeah.
So that actually is me.
No, I was glad he spoke up. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot that stuff. I don't know. What do you have?
I think I think he's in a tough situation. And if we go back to that thing about self created or whatever, he is, in my mind, the way he presented that he's a victim. You know, his property, well,
Just constantly floods.
if he wants recreational stuff, he made the point that the lake isn't very exciting. You know, in his place, and that whole area up there, it's kayak over it, it's just like
Yeah, I saw.
Shallow and.
That looks horrible.
And weeds.
And what?
Weeds.
Oh, and bugs. Bugs. All right, I don't know.
Well, is this a substantial?
Well, that's where I was
There you go.
going, is technically the only thing in front of us is a coverage, and an 8.2% coverage to get to 38 is on par with other things we've done, even since I've been here.
isn't,
Is,
what does the neighborhood look like?
It's that neighborhood. That neighborhood's kind of that way too, because it's,
If you wanna go ahead and say it.
yep,
Yeah, there's some others there that are.
it's a
in
cluster.
that range.
That's what I was gonna say, but I was trying to be nice.
Yes.
I mean, it's a small lot, but it's bigger than it looks like in some of the lots.
Yeah, look at
This is all.
4967. What is that? It's a postage stamp.
They like front taxes too.
Wow.
so from a substantial, this one
That's
doesn't.
north of it.
The heck is-
63.
It raises a lot of weird questions, but.
Yeah.
I'll take this size out.
It is a good sized house, but isn't, so the other property is theirs too, correct? That,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's their,
yeah.
this lot, it's just in the city.
It's
The
just-
yellow
yeah.
line is the town
Right.
part of it.
It's just weird how the yellow, it broke it up, so I
So I
like
didn't
that
make this
better.
visit. Would you say that this area someday could be a swamp?
Very much so, I think,
Wow.
unless the lake gets dry.
Might go down a little bit, please.
Except the pool, because that will be.
We'll keep going, let's see if there's any pools.
Yeah.
anything Like that.
Good answer.
Yeah, there was.
I didn't see pools, as I mean, there's,
Oh.
not on the lake, there's one, I think, those,
Look at
that one.
lot. Look at that
There's
one.
above ground one somewhere up closer to the road, I think.
Is there? I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
I can see it. The
Oh, I see it.
4977 might be an above.
3319.
To the right, the middle. Yeah,
Oh,
see
wow.
that thing behind the house, right there?
Yeah,
That looks like some kind of.
yeah, it's a
pool.
pool.
That's a pool.
Yeah.
It's probably in ground.
Actually,
That's a huge
wait a
lot.
minute,
Big-
is
yeah,
that off
big
of
pool.
Wesley? Let me see.
And it's not on the lake,
Yeah,
there
Oh, no.
is no.
So his mom actually lives up on, because I know his sister, but I know the mom used to live up on Westlake Road too, like right there, yeah. I think.
Yeah, that's a pool. Yep. I didn't see, looking at this, any pools on the lake. They're there in that area, but they're not, I didn't notice them on the lake.
Sure there is in that area, you have to come down a ways.
Well, there's not enough room.
how many square feet is the lot? 22,000. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the house next door is kind of large too, right? But that's a pretty big lot.
That's a big one. Probably roughly the same though.
They're all kind of just, yeah, probably.
Sixty-seven must have,
Yeah,
I think,
that's a seasonal, I
if
think.
it's gotten, if it's more recent, it's, must be, that must be up around 30%.
You have to worry about muddy water flowing into its pool.
It must just.
You have to worry about muddy water flowing into its pool.
Yeah, it's so it's the outlet, like where the skimmer goes, that's what goes into the septic? That's a
Yeah.
question. Okay.
Well,
I think that,
pools have drains.
Well,
Usually
he
it's
is
drained
tied
into
into
your-
that.
No, they don't.
Indoor pools
So
have
the-
drains
so
above
They,
it.
they,
like
they
you said,
can, but they don't have to.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
I
well.
guess that was, I don't know.
It's
the
tied
answer
in
to
with
that.
this.
I think that, I think the natural waterway coming down the side of the property is in that area just to the north of the property line, which is a right of way.
Right, right, right.
And then it, I think as it gets closer to the lake, I think it comes back a little bit south and dumps right in next
Yeah.
to the stock there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it
But I
would
don't
be
know.
worse if he moved it. I understand that.
Yeah,
And I don't think that's, I don't think the water coming down is gonna get into the pool.
yeah, I don't think that's it. I think it's all on the one side of the house.
well, we can, I mean,
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
not a ton of concern about that, it's already going straight into the lake.
Right.
Well, we want to call the question? Okay.
Here,
Yep.
Okay. This would need a supermajority.
this
Yes,
is a super majority.
Construction of an in-ground swimming pool with patio area requires requested 8.2% lot coverage variance. Shall the lot coverage variance be granted? Shannon Chevy,
Yes.
Bob Hilliard.
Yes,
Kelly LaVoy,
Yes.
Chip Saylor,
Yes.
Jason Outhouse.
Yes.
Okay, I think as presented with the site plans and condition that it be done in a year.
no changes,
No
Sorry?
changes.
no
to the lot
changes to
plan.
the
No
plan,
changes to the plan.
and that it be reviewed and approved by the planning board.
Yeah, and I think it's a small property. The topography again makes a difference of where you can put it.
This lot is unique. Because it's very unique, because
But
it's
the
owned
good-
by both the town and the city.
the good faith is, he needs to make that connection with the drainage from the
Right.
pool.
Yeah,
And
let's go
if-
make that, you
if
wanna make
that's
that a
not-
condition as well?
That's a
Yeah.
condition, because if he can't deliver on that,
Then that's
then I
done.
vote no.
Okay,
Corinne, did you get that?
What was it?
Adding a condition that it be connected to the municipal sewer system, right?
Right, so that drain off from the pool does not go into the water.
Yeah.
And like,
Is it the sewer or is it the stormwater system?
They're both technically, I didn't know, so I said sewer, this one storm sewer.
He
one
said
sanitary.
sewer.
alright,
So,
what was it, Mike? Which one was it? Alright, there you go, we got the official confirmation of it.
yeah, because I think that effectively decreases the actual
Yeah.
impervious
yeah,
area.
Well, it doesn't, but he said we
Well,
should
yeah.
figure it does, yes.
I didn't mean to say
Yeah.
it wasn't, but it functionally makes a difference.
I know,
Anything else, anybody?
I still say it's just, I mean, it really does have like the runoff, and I mean, there's really no other where, if he was gonna try to. I think it almost makes sense to put a pool in to have a clean water source to be able to, enjoy, but. I think the property makes it look good.
Well, I think that. I guess I want to say there's a need for a pool, but.
Right.
The quest to have a pool makes sense, given the poor water conditions in the lake. With shallow, muddy.
I don't
muddy,
think we should say that.
No.
My opinion.
Yeah.
Do it.
No, I agree.
giving the water, you don't have to say even water, for water condition, giving the water low condition at this site.
Yeah.
Because he's got specific runoff,
Make it
causing a
challenging.
problem right in front of his.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the water condition at this site.
The wording, right? It's
Yeah.
all about the wording.
Let's see.
Right.
why
But
I
you
asked the
said
lawyer.
it's not substantial. And,
Mhm.
right, and that's,
Yeah.
so it was a reasonable request.
Right.
And for a variance.
There you go. That was good word.
Yeah. What lot coverage could he have if he had 19,000 square feet? And that the
That gets up to
35%?
remember. Mike, you remember?
If you didn't have.
If he had 18,000 square feet in his property.
There's a lot that was in here,
Yeah, that was,
it was 40%.
40%.
oh,
Time out. Flag on the plug.
Lock it in the back.
Yeah, yeah.
we took out the city portion, would you need a variance at all?
Yes.
Yeah, because you're. I don't think you're all saying the same thing.
Oh, I got it, yeah, I just realized.
Okay,
I know, it's going back and forth is fine.
But
No, but you're saying, yeah, if we took out the city
Yeah.
portion, it would be less than 20,000 square feet, so. it would be-
I only did half of the equation. Have more coverage, less, forgot there's less space. But it does come up with, you know, the difference between 20,001 square feet and 19,999.
And that may not be an
Is-
unreasonable thing to
Yeah.
put in there, and it's very close
Yeah.
to 20,000.
Yeah.
Below which it would have,
Gotcha.
you know, be within the accepted range. All right.
All right.
All right, extension request, not at this time, interpretation, well, Kepner.
How do we take this long with only two cases?
great.
You kept asking.
One was, that's right. That's right.
Question after
She
question.
comes in late and then she holds herself. I mean.
Okay, moving on anyway.
It doesn't get any better than that, does
Oh,
it?
wait a minute,
She
just
comes-
be quick.
she
Well,
comes
you
late,
can't
and
go
she's-
quick with Wegmans.
He
You
wanted
wanna
to
ask questions
elaborate.
Because you know they've got good
Right.
answers. It's
Yes.
not like you're attacking them, you're like, hey, how
Yeah,
about this?
What I
Like,
was
oh,
trying to
okay.
get, like, we had heard it, so I wanted him to get to the good points for them.
Yes, yeah.
That was what I was trying to do. I wasn't trying to ask questions. I was trying to get him to get.
We're always worried about precedents. They might have set one tonight with all of that state of the art stuff that they're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that becomes the gold standard.
When Mark Bayer comes in,
I know.
it's gonna be something good. that
He's good.
can- He's set the standard in this town.
Yeah.
right.
And a lot of our design guidelines are based on stuff that he brought to the planning board and said, hey, this would be a.
We haven't seen him in a while.
No, he just said that to me outside.
Really? I was
Been a
like, I
while.
haven't seen him in a while because I know his
Yeah.
sister.
Okay, town board referrals, manager referrals, ordinance committee referrals. Other business as required. We need to approve the minutes of January 16th. Is there a motion?
Yeah.
Second,
Good.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. People having any better luck with cloud permit these days?
I'm using it.
I'm
just
not,
fine.
I'm back to I'm gonna have to call and with my iMac in front of me, you can tell me what to do. Maybe it's
It's
because
the
they have
iMac.
an old system. But I thought I was over the hump and I'm not.
I know Tyler has procured new laptops for all of you and the planning board.
Oh, get out.
So that's coming up so that you guys will all have.
Really? Hey, I use
Okay.
mine. I'll just
Well,
leave
that's
it
good
home
news.
now.
It's nice to have it,
It is nice to have it.
so you're not saying, wait. pull
I
this
bring
up.
it all over the
You
place.
could just,
Are we
Go
off
where you
the,
need.
we're off the Zoom now, right?
No.
Okay.
no, wait, did you adjourn the meeting? No, don't shut it
Oh,
off.
we gotta adjourn. the
Yeah,
meeting.
gonna adjourn the meeting.
Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Well, wait, yes. So we adjourn?
All in favor?
Are we through all the business and all that?
Close. Yeah, we.
All right, good.
Cause I had,
Adjourn.
See ya.
now that we were adjourned, I had something that,
Oh,
you know, Shannon and I noticed that